Hi, and welcome to video number 4 in your mini video tutorial series on perception architecture. My name is Chuck Dolce. I am principal of Impact Marketing Solutions and creator of the perception architecture method. And today I want to talk to you about content, about the stuff you write. Okay. Now, in general, content is kind of a combination of everything we learned up to now. Okay. Your content's got to include information that you've done about your prospects, about their reality stamps, about their triggers, about their biases, okay? It's got to include your recrafted mission statement, your recrafted description of the services you provide, one that closes the emotional gap with your prospects, okay? It's got to do with your personal brand. You brought some personality in there. You've made yourself more recognizable, more welcome, more interesting, all right? So you've got all this going into your content right now. One more thing has to be done. Now, we could talk about techniques, structure, engagement techniques, psychological techniques, all that, but really there's one more important thing that I want to hit on today. And I want to talk about this because I think it is the most important thing that you can do that will create the most impact and have the most effective improvement in your marketing right away. And that is simplicity. Keep it simple. Exactly. Now you're thinking, I know this already. But the idea really goes deeper. And I want to tell you why it's so important to keep things simple, because you have to understand this. And the other thing I want to tell you about is why we often don't keep things simple. All right? And there's a reason for that as well, too. So, anyway, why is it imperative that we keep things simple? All right? Well, it's a very simple reason. People do not like to think. Now, I know you want to think that your audience, your crowd is smarter than the average bear, more intelligent, more sophisticated, more erudite, and they may be more educated. There may be more years of formal education behind them, more letters behind their name, but it doesn't mean they're going to waste their precious brain cells reading your message, okay? Sorry to say that, but it's the truth, all right? We always look for the shortest way to understand what we're trying to learn right now. There was a 19th, early 20th century mathematician named Lord Alfred Whitehead. He was a mathematician turned philosopher, and he said something remarkable about this very thing. He said, let me read it to you. Civilization advances by extending the number of important operations which we can perform without thinking of them. That is a big idea. We evolve more by thinking less. And when you think about it, it has to be the case. If every time we walked into the kitchen and saw the flame on the stove on there and had to think to ourselves, well, if I put my hand on that fire, the flame from that fire is going to heat my hand to 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is going to do massive cellular damage to my skin, which will send neural impulses up my arm into my brain, which will transmit those impulses into pain signals and send it out screaming all over my body. No. We see the fire and we know you don't stick your hand in it. If we had to go through a reasoning process like that every time, we'd still be living in caves, for crying out loud. So that's the thing to remember. We're always looking for the fastest way to understand what we're trying to understand, okay? And if you complicate things at all you're doing is throwing up speed bumps, okay? And you want to avoid that at all costs. Now, so we know why it's important to keep things simple, okay? Because our prospects don't like to think. But why is it that we always seem to make things harder than they have to be? Well, the good news is it's not your fault, okay? There is a tendency, a principle, I guess if you will, called the curse of knowledge. And really we all suffer from it at some point or another. And what the curse of knowledge says is when the party of the first part talking to the party of the second part, if the party of the first part knows something, the party of the second part doesn't, when they explain that to the party of the second part, they automatically assume that the party of the second part will all understand everything they're going to say. Did you get all that? No? Okay. Let me explain it to you another way. There's a book out called Made to Stick by two gentlemen, Chip and Dan Heath, brothers, I believe, and great marketing book. If you're interested in the kind of the theoretical level of marketing, I would highly recommend going out and read it. Made to Stick. But they talk about the curse of knowledge in there. And to prove their point, they essentially cite an experiment, a study done at the University of Stanford in the early 90s. And the experiment, or the study, consisted of what they call tappers and listeners. Now, this is how it went. Two people would come in and sit at a table. One person was given a list of songs. Songs everybody knew. Things like, not like, the Overture to the Marriage of Figaro, but things like Happy Birthday, the Star Spangled Banner, okay, things we all know. Their job was to pick a song and tap the melody on a table, and the listener's job was basically to guess what the song was, okay? To say the least, they got, they tapped 120 songs, listeners got 3 right, okay? So that's about a 2.5% success ratio, which is unremarkable, really, if you consider it, because it's a hard thing to do. Go ahead and try it at your next party. You'll probably come up with about the same results. But what made this noteworthy was the fact that before they started the test, they asked the tappers what percentage of success they thought they'd have in transmitting the tune to the listener. They said 50%. They thought 1 in 2. In fact, it was 1 in 40. All right, they actually got the message. That's the curse of knowledge. It's our belief that we are communicating clearly when in fact we're really, really not. So that's the important. Go back over your stuff. Keep it simple. Review what your marketing message is saying. Peel it down to its one core basic idea. Believe me, it's easy to peel a message down to 2 or 3 big ideas, okay? But you want to get each one down to that one idea. Now, what do you do with one idea? We'll talk about that in tomorrow's video a little bit. But basically make it one idea, one focal point that the prospect can easily get his mind around. Remember, because we look for the fastest way to understand things. So anyway, that's it for video number 4. Hope you found it a little bit enjoyable, a little bit enlightening, and there's some information here you could use, okay? Remember, keep your send me your comments, questions, any ideas, thoughts, what have you. I always look forward to hearing from my readers, and keep your eyes on your email for tomorrow's link. So until then, have a great day.